The Zarathi fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. 3 million ships filled the empty space between Neptune and Pluto. They were the largest war fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Admiral Krexnari stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Doom of Worlds. He was confident. He was proud. He was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. The Admiral was old for a Zarathi, almost 200 years. His shell was dark purple, marked with the scars of many battles. His compound eyes could see in all directions at once. Right now they saw only victory ahead. "Report," Krexnari ordered. 3 million ships ready, Admiral. His second-in-command clicked. "The humans show only 2,000 vessels defending Earth. They have also sent 500 ships to meet us here. They must be desperate." Krexnari laughed. The sound was like breaking glass. 500 ships against 3 million? The humans have gone mad with fear. Destroy them. Then we take Earth. The human ships were small compared to the Zarathi battleships. Leading them was Admiral Susan Blake on the Retribution. She was 50 years old, with gray hair and steel blue eyes. Susan had never lost a battle simulation. Today would be her first real war. Admiral Blake, her communications officer Tony Martinez, called out. "The Zarathi are sending a message." "Put it on screen," Susan ordered. Krexnari's face appeared. His many eyes blinked in sequence. "Human Admiral, you can still surrender. Send those 500 ships away. Let us take Earth peacefully. Many lives will be saved." Susan smiled. It was the kind of smile that made her crew step back. "Admiral Krexnari, thank you for bringing all your ships together. It saves us time." "What do you mean?" the alien asked. "You'll see. Blake out." She cut the communication and turned to her crew. "Execute Prometheus Protocol, now." At her command, space itself seemed to break. From apparently empty void, 50,000 human ships materialized. They had been there all along, hidden by cloaking technology the aliens didn't know existed. But that was just the beginning. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter suddenly came alive. What looked like space rocks were actually disguised battleships. 2,000 Fortress-class vessels powered up their weapons. Each one was the size of a small city. From the dark side of Earth's moon, a swarm emerged. 100,000 fighter drones, each one equipped with artificial intelligence. They moved like a single organism, a metallic plague spreading through space. On Mars, mountains opened. Out flew the Phoenix fleet, humanity's newest weapons. These ships could split apart into smaller vessels, then recombine. One ship could become 100. 100 could become one. Krexnari's confidence disappeared. His eyes went wide with shock. The humans hadn't brought 500 ships to the battle. They had brought over 150,000. "Impossible," he screamed. "Our scans showed nothing. Our spies reported only peaceful colonies." But the surprises weren't over. Susan Blake raised her hand. "Activate the virus." Dr. Kevin Price, watching from Earth, pressed a single button. The virus he had planted in Zarathi systems 6 months ago woke up. Every shield on every Zarathi ship flickered and died. For 10 seconds, 3 million enemy ships were completely defenseless. "Fire everything," Susan commanded. Space lit up like a new sun had been born. Quantum torpedoes phased through space, appearing inside enemy ships. Antimatter missiles turned Zarathi vessels into expanding clouds of atoms. Laser beams cut through hulls like butter through bread. In those 10 seconds, humanity destroyed 500,000 enemy ships. The Zarathi fleet tried to retreat, but they found the hyperspace lanes blocked. Humanity had placed gravity mines at every jump point. The mines created artificial black holes, small ones, but enough to prevent any ship from entering hyperspace. "We're trapped," Krexnari's officers screamed. The Admiral watched his fleet burn. Ships exploded around him like fireworks. The humans weren't just winning. They were teaching a lesson. On Earth, people watched from their homes. Paul Anderson held his daughter Emma as they looked through their apartment window. The sky was full of flashing lights. "Are the bad aliens going away, Daddy?" Emma asked. "Yes, sweetheart. They're learning not to threaten Earth." Paul's wife, Mary, brought them hot chocolate. She had been a soldier once before Emma was born. She understood what those lights meant. Each flash was a ship dying, each ship had thousands of lives, but she felt no pity. They had threatened her daughter's world. Back in space, the human fighter drones swarmed the Zarathi fleet. They were too small for the big ships to target, too many to count. They attached to enemy hulls and exploded, or cut through armor with plasma torches. The bio-soldiers joined the battle. Major Bill Cooper led 1,000 of them in special assault pods. They launched from the moon base straight at the enemy flagship. No normal human could survive the acceleration. But the bio-soldiers weren't normal anymore. Bill's pod slammed into the doom of worlds. He tore through the hull with his enhanced hands. In the vacuum of space, his modified body kept working. He had 30 minutes before he needed air. 20 bio-soldiers followed him inside. They moved through the ship like demons. Zarathi warriors tried to stop them, but it was like insects fighting giants. Bill threw enemies aside with casual strength. Bullets bounced off his reinforced skin. They reached the bridge in 5 minutes. Krexnari faced them with his honor guard, the best Zarathi fighters. The battle lasted 30 seconds. When it ended, Bill stood alone among fallen enemies. "Admiral Krexnari," Bill said, his voice transmitted through radio. "You will order your fleet to surrender." "Never," the admiral clicked. Bill grabbed the alien with one hand, lifting him off the ground. "Then watch your fleet die." Through the bridge windows, they could see the battle. It wasn't a battle anymore. It was a massacre. Human ships danced through space, untouchable. Their weapons never missed. Their shields never failed. The Phoenix fleet showed its true power. One ship split into 1,000 smaller ones, surrounded a Zarathi battleship, then fired from all directions at once. The enemy vessel vanished in a ball of light. The Fortress-class ships from the asteroid belt fired their main guns. Each shot could crack a small moon. Zarathi's ships simply ceased to exist when hit. But the worst was the swarm. The fighter drones had multiplied. How? Each drone could build more drones from the wreckage of destroyed ships. They were eating the UEMB Zarathi fleet and growing stronger. "Please," Krexnari begged. "Make it stop." Susan Blake's image appeared on the screen. "Order your fleet to surrender, all of it. Not just here, but everywhere. Every Zarathi ship in the galaxy." Krexnari's pride fought with his fear. Pride lost. "All Zarathi forces," he spoke into the communicator. "This is Admiral Krexnari. Surrender. Drop your weapons. The war is over." Across the solar system, Zarathi ships powered down their weapons. Some tried to keep fighting, but they were quickly destroyed. In 20 minutes, the greatest fleet in galactic history had been defeated. Susan. Blake stood on her bridge watching the scanner. Of the 3 million enemy ships, 2 million were destroyed or disabled. 1 million had surrendered. "Casualties?" she asked. "We lost 12 drones and 1 fighter pilot who ignored orders," Tony Martinez reported. "No capital ships lost." Susan nodded. Humanity had just won the most one-sided battle in history. On Earth, General Carl Watson watched from his command center. "Phase 1 complete," he said. "Now the real war begins." Because this had just been the opening move. The Zarathi had 6 more fleets. Their allies had dozens more. The galaxy was vast, and the war had just started. But humanity had sent a message. They were not prey. They were not weak. They were the apex predators of the galaxy, and they had just shown their teeth. In schools across Earth, children were already learning about the Battle of Sol. Teachers explained how preparation and technology had defeated numbers, how humanity had waited 3,000 years for this moment. "Remember," the teacher said, "we didn't start this war, but we will finish it." The surrendered Zarathi were taken to Mars. There they would learn about humanity, not the fake, peaceful version they thought they knew. The real humanity. The species that conquered their own planet, then the stars, then waited patiently for someone to test them. Admiral Krexnari sat in his cell, his compound eyes reflecting his defeat. He had. One thought repeating in his mind. We woke the sleeping giant. He was right. The Galactic Assembly Hall floated in space above Centauri Station. It was the biggest meeting place in the galaxy. Every important species had a seat here. For 3,000 years they had met in peace. Today was different. Ambassador Jack Morrison sat at the human section. He wore a simple blue suit. Jack had been Earth's voice here for 10 years. Next to him sat his assistant, Lisa Chen. She was young, only 30 years old. This was her first big meeting. The hall was full. 100 different alien species sat in their special chairs. Some breathed water. Some needed hot air. Some floated in zero-gravity bubbles. The hall gave everyone what they needed to live. Jack watched the Zarathi delegation. These aliens looked like giant insects. They had 6 legs and wings that sparkled, like glass. Their eyes were compound, like earth flies but 1,000 times bigger. The Zarathi had been friends with humans for 3,000 years. They traded technology and food. Their children went to school together on mixed colonies. But today, the Zarathi acted strange. They stood up from their crystal seats. All 20 of them moved at the same time like they shared one mind. Because they did. The Zarathi were a hive-mind species. One thought, millions of bodies. The hall became quiet. Every alien turned to watch. The air felt heavy with tension. Zixatheta was the prime speaker for the Zarathi. He was bigger than the others with golden wings. When he spoke, his voice came through translator machines. It sounded like grinding metal. Members of the Galactic Assembly, Zixatheta began. We come with important news. For 3,000 years we have watched humanity grow. We have seen them spread to 500 worlds. We have seen them learn our technology. We have seen them become too powerful. Lisa grabbed Jack's arm. Her hand shook. But Jack sat still. His face showed nothing. Zixatheta continued. Humans are dangerous. They learn too fast. They breed too quickly. In only 3,000 years, they went from 1 world to 500. No other species has grown so fast. They must be stopped. The hall exploded with noise. Some aliens clicked in fear. Others roared in anger. The peaceful Aquarians blew bubbles of distress. The Zarathi leader raised 4 of his arms. 7 species stand with us. The Krathan Empire, the Void Singers, the Crystal Mines, the Shadow Fleet, the Burning Suns, the Silent Watchers. Together we have 5 million ships, humanity has 5,000. The math is simple. Jack stood up slowly. Every eye, camera, and sensor turned to him. He smiled. It was a small smile, but Lisa saw something in it that scared her. May I speak? Jack asked. The human may speak before we vote, Zixatheta said. His compound eyes reflected Jack's image 1,000 times. Jack walked to the center of the hall. His shoes clicked on the metal floor. The sound echoed in the silence. 3,000 years, Jack said. His voice was calm. 3,000 years of peace. We have been good neighbors. We helped you fight the plague of darkness. We shared our music and art. Our doctors saved millions of your people. Why now? Why war? Because you are predators, pretending to be prey, Zixatheta answered. We have studied your history. You fought wars that almost destroyed your world. You built weapons that could crack planets. You are violent by nature. Jack nodded. You're right, we were violent, but we changed. We chose peace. Lies, the Zarathi said together, their voices joining into one terrible sound. You cannot change. Your nature. A wolf in sheep's clothing is still a wolf. Jack reached into his pocket. Every guard in the room tensed. He pulled out a small device, no bigger than a coin. You're right about that too, Jack said. He pressed the device. Nothing happened in the hall, but across human space everything changed. On Earth, deep under the Pacific Ocean, ancient doors opened. Ships that had been sleeping for centuries came alive. Their engines hummed with power no alien knew humans possessed. On the moon's dark side, mountains split open. Inside were factories that had been building in secret for 1,000 years. Millions of war drones poured out like angry wasps. On Mars, what looked like cities were really disguised battleships. They rose from the red sand, shaking off their camouflage. On every human colony, farmers put down their tools and picked up weapons. Children ran to bunkers that their parents had told them were storm shelters. Every human knew this day might come. They had practiced for it their whole lives. In deep space, asteroids that had been mining stations showed their true purpose. They were missile platforms, each one holding enough firepower to destroy a moon. Trading ships across the galaxy received Jack's signal. Their cargo holds opened, but not to release goods. Instead, fighter ships emerged. The harmless traders had been military carriers all along. Captain Amy Rodriguez commanded one of these hidden warships. She had pretended to be a merchant for 15 years. She had drunk tea with Zarathi traders. She had sung songs with Aquarian sailors, but always she had been ready for this moment. "All hands, this is your captain," Amy said over the ship's speakers. "Today we stop pretending, show them who we really are." Her crew cheered. They had waited their whole lives for this. They pulled off their merchant uniforms to reveal military armor underneath. Back in the assembly hall, Jack's device projected a hologram. It showed Earth's real military strength. Not 5,000 ships, 500,000. Not peaceful colonies, hidden fortresses. Not simple farmers, trained soldiers. The aliens gasped. Some fainted. Others tried to run. "You say we're wolves," Jack said to the silent hall. "You're wrong. Wolves hunt in packs. Humans? We're something much more dangerous. We're the species that survived ice ages, plagues, and nuclear war. We're the species that turned our homeworld from a battlefield into a paradise. And we're the species that spent 3,000 years preparing for this exact moment." Zix Theta's wings buzzed in anger. "Impossible. Our spies found nothing. Our scans showed peaceful worlds." "Because we wanted you to see peace," Jack said. "Every human child learns to hide their strength. Every human adult knows that the best war is the one you win before it starts. We learned from our history. Never again would we be caught unprepared." Lisa stood up and joined Jack. Her fear was gone now. She understood. Her parents had trained her for this. Her teachers had prepared her. Every human knew their role in the great plan. "You have one day to reconsider," Jack told the assembly. "One day to choose peace. After that, you'll learn why humans are the apex predators of the galaxy. Not because we're the strongest or the smartest, but because we're the species that prepares for war while praying for peace." Jack and Lisa walked out of the hall. Behind them, chaos erupted. Allies of the Zarathi argued about what to do. Others begged humans for protection. As they reached their ship, Lisa finally spoke. "They'll attack anyway, won't they?" Jack nodded. "Yes. But now they know we're ready. And that fear, that doubt, that's already our first victory." Their ship left the station. Through the windows, they could see human vessels dropping their disguises across the system. The sheep had become wolves. The prey had become predators. The war hadn't started yet. But humanity had already won the first battle. 6 months had passed since the war began. The galaxy looked very different now. Human ships patrolled the trade routes. Former enemies worked alongside humans. The Zarathi Empire was gone, replaced by millions of free individuals choosing their own paths. Admiral Susan Blake stood in the ruins of the Zarathi capital. The massive pyramid that had housed the queens was empty now. The queens hadn't been killed. They had been changed. Given individual consciousness, they had chosen to stop ruling and start learning. Beside Susan stood Zixa Theta, the former prime speaker who had declared war on humanity. He looked different now. His eyes were brighter, more alive. He had chosen a new name for himself, Matthew. He liked how it sounded. "I was wrong about humans," Matthew said. His translator made his voice sound almost human now. "You didn't destroy us. You freed us." "Everyone deserves freedom," Susan replied, "even those who try to take ours away." Young Zarathi approached them. She had chosen the name Sarah for herself. She had been Unit 7739, the first drone to say, "I want." Admiral Blake, Sarah said. Thank you. For the first time in my life I can dream. I dream of seeing other worlds, of learning to paint, of choosing my own future. Susan smiled. That's what this war was really about. Not conquest, freedom, but one enemy remained. The Silent Watchers had sealed their system behind an energy barrier that no ship could pass through. They were planning something inside their hidden space. General Carl Watson studied the barrier from his command center. It was perfect, no weakness anywhere. But Carl had learned something important in his 70 years. Nothing is perfect. We need to get inside, Carl said to his staff. But how? Dr. Kevin Price had an idea. What if we don't go through the barrier? What if we go around it? Around it, it's a sphere, it covers everything. Kevin grinned. Not everything. It exists in normal space. But what about subspace? What about dimensions they don't know we can access? Kevin had been working on something special. A drive that could move ships through dimensions the Silent Watchers couldn't see. It was dangerous. One mistake and the ship would be lost between realities, but it was their only chance. Captain Amy Rodriguez, now Admiral Rodriguez, volunteered to lead the mission. She would take one ship, the Renaissance, through dimensional space into the Silent Watchers system. It's suicide, General Watson said. Maybe, Amy replied, but someone has to try. And I'm the best pilot we have. The Renaissance was humanity's newest ship. It had every advanced technology humans had developed. Shields that could survive a supernova, weapons that could crack moons, and now a dimensional drive that could slip between realities. Amy's crew was small but elite. Ben Taylor, her first officer, Tony Martinez, weapons specialist, Lisa Chen, the diplomat, and one unexpected volunteer, Matthew, the former Zarathi leader. Why do you want to come? Amy asked him. Because I helped start this war, Matthew said. I want to help end it. The dimensional jump was strange. Reality twisted. Colors that didn't exist flashed past the windows. The ship seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. Then, suddenly, they were through. They emerged inside the Silent Watchers system. What they saw shocked them. The Silent Watchers weren't preparing for war. They were building something massive. A ring around their star designed to harness all its energy. But for what? A Silent Watcher ship approached. These aliens were unlike any others. They were made of living metal, beings of pure, thought-given form. They could change shape, become anything they needed to be. Humans, a voice spoke directly into their minds. We knew you would come. Then you know we come in peace, Lisa Chen said. The war is over. Everyone else has made peace. Why do you hide? We don't hide. We prepare. Prepare for what? The Silent Watcher's form shifted, becoming a screen showing the galaxy. But beyond the galaxy's edge, something moved. Something dark and hungry. The Devourers, the Silent Watcher said. They come every million years. They eat entire civilizations. Last time we barely survived. This time we thought to let them eat you all, then hide while they fed. But you human, you changed everything. Amy understood. You were going to use the war as cover. Let us weaken each other, then hide when the real threat came. Yes. But you won the war too quickly, showed strength we didn't expect. Now we realize we need you. The Silent Watchers shared their knowledge. The Devourers were coming. Beings from dark space between galaxies. They consumed entire species, left nothing but empty worlds. They would arrive in 1 year. Amy sent the message to Earth. Within hours, the entire galaxy knew. The war was over, but a greater threat was coming. General Carl Watson didn't hesitate. Send messages to every species, former enemies, neutral parties, everyone. We need to unite. The real war is coming. What happened next amazed everyone. Humans didn't demand leadership. They offered partnership. They shared their technology freely. Quantum torpedoes for the Aquarians, dimensional drives for the Etherians, Bioenhancement for any who wanted it. The Zarathi, now free individuals, volunteered by the millions. Sarah, the first freed drone, became a fighter pilot. She was naturally good at it, her compound eyes able to track multiple targets at once. The Burning Suns offered their plasma technology. The Crystal Mines shared their quantum computers. The Void Singers taught everyone their stealth techniques. But humans gave the most important gift: hope. "We survived ice ages," Jack Morrison told the Galactic Assembly. "We survived plagues. We survived nuclear war. We survived our own worst nature. Now, together, we'll survive this." 1 year later, the Devourers came. They were nightmares made real. Ships of living darkness that ate light itself. They had consumed 1,000 galaxies before this one. But they found something they had never encountered before: a united galaxy, led by humanity. The battle was beyond description. It lasted months. Entire systems were evacuated. Planets were sacrificed to trap devourer fleets. Heroes were made and lost. But humanity's greatest weapon worked again: adaptation. They studied the Devourers, learned their patterns, found their weakness. The Devourers fed on fear and division. Unity and hope were poison to them. In the final battle, every species fought as one. Former enemies stood side by side. The freed, Zarathi, flew alongside human pilots. The Silent Watchers revealed weapons they had hidden for millennia. The Etherians sang battle songs that gave everyone courage, and at the center of it all, humanity coordinated the defense. Not as conquerors, but as leaders who had earned respect. The Devourers were driven back, fled to the dark space between galaxies. They would not return for another 1,000,000 years. And when they did, the galaxy would be ready. After the victory, the species of the galaxy made a decision. They formed the Galactic Federation, with Earth as its capital. Not because humans demanded it, but because everyone voted for it. Admiral Susan Blake became the first Federation Fleet Admiral. General Carl Watson retired, finally able to rest. Dr. Maria Gonzalez continued her work, helping species understand each other better. Kevin Price led the Scientific Alliance, preparing defenses for future threats. Matthew, the former Zarathi leader, became Earth's first alien citizen. Sarah opened an art school where different species learned from each other. Amy Rodriguez took the Renaissance on a new mission, exploring beyond the galaxy, looking for other civilizations that might need help. On Earth, children played in parks with young Zarathi Aquarians and others. They grew up together, learned together, became friends who would one day lead together. The War Memorial on Earth bore a simple inscription: "We didn't start the war, but we ended it. Then we built something better." Carl Watson, now 80, sat with his granddaughter under the stars. "Grandpa, will there be another war?" she asked. "Maybe," he said, "but if there is, we'll be ready. We're always ready. But more importantly, we'll always choose peace first." The galaxy was at peace. Real peace. Not the false peace of 3,000 years ago, built on hidden preparations. This was peace built on respect, understanding, and the knowledge that humanity would protect everyone. Humans had proven they were the apex predators of the galaxy, but they had also proven something more important. They were its guardians. The story of humanity had a new chapter. They were no longer the new species, trying to fit in. They were the leaders, the protectors, the ones who turned enemies into friends and faced the darkness between the stars. And somewhere in the void, other threats waited. But the galaxy was ready, because humanity had taught them all the most important lesson. Together, they were invincible. 2 weeks had passed since the Battle of Sol. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity swept through space like a storm. Every day brought news of another impossible victory. Commander Greg Foster stood on the bridge of Vanguard Station. The station used to pretend to be a mining platform near Jupiter. Now its true form was revealed. It was the largest battle station ever built, bigger than most cities, armed with weapons that could split planets. "Report from all fronts," Greg ordered. His tactical officer, Nicole Brown, pulled up the galactic map. "The Krathan Empire surrendered yesterday. Their home fleet of 2 million ships lasted exactly 3 hours against our 7th fleet. The Void Singers are asking for peace talks. The Crystal Mines have recalled all their ships to their home system. Greg nodded. The war was going exactly as planned. But the best part wasn't the military victories. It was what Dr. Maria Gonzalez was doing to the Zerathi. Maria was not a soldier. She was something more dangerous. She was a xenopsychologist, an expert on alien minds. For 50 years, she had studied the Zerathi. She knew them better than they knew themselves. Maria sat in her laboratory on Earth, surrounded by screens showing brain scans, Zerathi brain scans. The prisoners from the Battle of Sol were her subjects now, but she wasn't torturing them. She was freeing them. The Zerathi hive mind is fascinating, Maria explained to her team. Every drone shares thoughts with every other drone. They have no privacy, no individual dreams, no personal choices. They don't even have names, just numbers. Her assistant, Dr. John Park, looked at the data. Can we really break that? It's been their way for 1,000,000 years. Maria smiled. We don't need to break it. We need to give them a choice. Watch this. She activated her program. It was not a weapon, it was a gift. The program introduced a simple concept to the Zerathi mind. The word I. In the prisoner cells on Mars, something amazing happened. Zerathi drones began to think their own thoughts. For the first time in their species' history, they could disagree with each other. One drone, who had been known only as Unit 7739, stood up in his cell. I want to see the sky. The guard, a young soldier named Pete Harris, was shocked. Did that bug just say, I want? Let him see the sky, Maria said over the intercom. He's becoming an individual. Pete led the drone outside. The Martian sky was pink and dusty. The drone stood there for an hour, just looking up. It's beautiful, the drone said. I never noticed before. We never noticed. We were always thinking about the collective, but I can see it now, just me, now. Within days, thousands of Zerathi drones were experiencing individuality. They chose names for themselves. They asked for different foods. They wanted to learn about art and music. But the most important change happened in Zerathi space. Jake Martinez was not his real name. Nobody knew his real name. He was the best computer hacker humanity had ever produced. Some said he could make computers do impossible things. Today, he would prove it. General Watson. Jake said over the secure line, I'm ready to upload the Freedom virus to the Zerathi homeworld. Carl Watson, watching from his command center, gave the order. Do it. Jake's fingers danced over his keyboard. His virus traveled through captured Zerathi communication systems, through quantum networks, through the subspace channels that connected every Zerathi in the galaxy. The virus carried Maria's gift. The concept of I, the idea of choice, the possibility of freedom. On the Zerathi homeworld, chaos erupted. Drones stopped following orders. They asked why, for the first time. Why should they die for the queens? Why couldn't they choose their own path? The Zerathi queens, massive creatures that controlled the hive mind, found their power breaking. Their drones weren't obeying anymore. Some drones even approached the queens and asked a forbidden question. Why do you rule us? Commander Greg Foster watched the reports come in. It's working. The Zerathi Empire is collapsing from within. Their fleets are refusing to fight. Some ships are asking to defect to our side. This was humanity's true weapon. Not ships or guns, but ideas. The idea of freedom was more powerful than any torpedo. Meanwhile, the Shadow Fleet, one of the Zerathi's allies, decided to attack human colonies directly. They thought civilians would be easy targets. They were wrong. On the colony world of New Texas, farmer Sam Wilson saw the Shadow Fleet ships approaching. He pressed a button on his tractor. The machine transformed, armor plates sliding into place, weapons emerging from hidden compartments. Every piece of farm equipment on the planet was actually military hardware in disguise. Sam's neighbor, Ruth Taylor, laughed as her greenhouse turned into a shield generator. They really thought we were just farmers? The Shadow Fleet landed 10,000 troops. They were met by 50,000 armed colonists. Every human adult was a trained soldier. Every building was a fortress. Every child knew where the weapon caches were hidden. The battle lasted 1 hour. The Shadow Fleet retreated, leaving most of their dead behind. The same scene played out on dozens of worlds. Alien forces would attack what looked like helpless colonies. They would find instead hardened military bases with populations trained for war since childhood. Back on Earth, Ambassador Jack Morrison met with representatives from neutral alien species. The Aquarians, peaceful water dwellers, were terrified. Humans are too powerful, the Aquarian ambassador bubbled through his water-filled helmet. You could conquer the entire galaxy. Jack shook his head. We don't want to conquer. We want peace. Real peace, built on respect, not fear. But you've been preparing for war for 3,000 years. Because we learned from our history, Jack Asu explained. On Earth we had a saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. We prepared. Now we're teaching the galaxy a lesson. Don't mistake kindness for weakness. The Etherians, the oldest species in the galaxy, sent a message to humanity. It was just one word. Impressive. But not everyone was ready to give up. The Burning Suns, a species made of living plasma, gathered their forces for one massive attack. They had 100,000 ships, each one powered by miniature stars. Admiral Susan Blake prepared to meet them. They think their plasma weapons will give them an advantage, she told her crew. They don't know about our heat shields. The heat shields were another human secret, developed by Dr. Kevin Price. They could absorb the energy from a star and convert it into power for human ships. The Burning Sun's greatest weapon would become their weakness. The battle happened near Alpha Centauri. The Burning Suns fired their plasma cannons, beams hot enough to melt planets. The human ships absorbed the energy, their shields glowing brighter and brighter. Thank you for the power, Susan said over the communication channel. Now let us show you what we do with it. The human ships fired the absorbed energy back at the Burning Suns. Their own plasma, amplified and focused, tore through their fleet. In 30 minutes, the Burning Suns surrendered. By the end of the 3rd week, the war had turned completely. The Zarathi Empire was in civil war as freed drones fought against the Queens. The Krathen had surrendered. The Void Singers were negotiating. Peace, the Crystal Mines had gone silent. The Shadow Fleet was retreating. The Burning Suns were defeated. Only the Silent Watchers remained hostile, but they had retreated to their home system and sealed their borders. General Carl Watson looked at the strategic map. Human forces controlled all major hyperspace lanes. Earth's flag flew over 100 former enemy bases. We're winning too easily, Beth Harper said. It feels wrong. Carl nodded. It feels wrong because we're not conquerors. We're protectors. Start Phase 4. It's time to show them we can build, as well as destroy. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons. It was their ability to forgive, to rebuild, and to turn enemies into friends. But first, they had to deal with the Silent Watchers, the most mysterious and dangerous of all alien species. They were planning something big. Carl could feel it. The war wasn't over yet. General Carl Watson had not seen sunlight in 3 days. He lived in the command center now, deep beneath the Nevada desert. This place had no name. It did not exist on any map. Only 200 people in the entire galaxy knew about it. The underground base was massive. It stretched for 50 miles in every direction. The walls were made of steel and concrete, thick enough to survive a direct hit from a planet-killer bomb. This was humanity's real military heart. Carl was 70 years old. His hair was white, his face lined with wrinkles, but his eyes were sharp as a hawk's. He had been preparing for this war since he was 20. His father had prepared before him. His grandfather, too. 3 generations of Watsons, all working on the same secret plan. Show me everything, Carl said to his staff. The main screen lit up. It showed a map of the galaxy. Human worlds glowed blue. Enemy worlds glowed red. There were a lot more red dots than blue ones. Colonel Beth Harper walked up to him. She was 45, built like a fighter with short black hair and brown eyes that missed nothing. Beth had been Carl's right hand for 10 years. The Zarathi fleet is gathering near Proxima Centauri, Beth reported. 3 million ships so far, more coming every hour. Carl nodded. Let them come. The more they bring, the more we destroy. What, about our assets? Beth touched her tablet. New images appeared on the screen. Operation Silent Storm is ready. We have 50,000 automated fighter drones in position. They're powered down, invisible to all sensors. The enemy will fly right past them. The drones were humanity's secret weapon. Each one was small, no bigger than a car, but they were deadly. They could think for themselves, work as a team, and attack with perfect coordination. No pilot needed, no human lives at risk. And the battleships? Carl asked. Hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. 2,000 Fortress-class vessels. Each one has enough firepower to destroy a moon. Carl smiled. It was not a nice smile. They think we have 5,000 ships. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Dr. Kevin Price entered the command center. He was young, only 32, but probably the smartest human alive. Kevin had invented half the weapons humanity would use in this war. General, I have good news, Kevin said. He was excited, bouncing on his feet like a child. The quantum torpedoes work perfectly. We tested them on the dead moon of Titan. They passed through 12 layers of shields like they weren't there. How many do we have? Carl asked. 1 million units ready. The factories are making 10,000 more every day. Carl turned to another officer. What about the bio-soldiers? Major Bill Cooper stepped forward. He was huge, almost 7 feet tall, with muscles that looked carved from stone. But Bill was more than just muscle. Half his body was machine now. Nano-robots flowed through his blood. Computer chips enhanced his brain. He was the first of humanity's new soldiers. 5,000 bio-soldiers ready for combat, Bill reported. We're stronger than any known species. Faster, too. We can survive in space without suits for 30 minutes. We can see in total darkness. We can heal from wounds that would kill a normal human. Show me, Carl said. Bill picked up a steel bar from a nearby table. It was 3 inches thick. He bent it like it was made of rubber. Then he moved across the room in a blur, too fast for normal eyes to follow. In less than a second, he was back where he started. Impressive, Carl said. And your mind? Still human? Bill smiled. Still human, sir. Just better. We think faster, remember everything, and can connect to any computer system by touch. Carl nodded, satisfied. The bio-soldiers were risky. Some people said they were no longer human, but Carl knew they needed every advantage in this war. A young woman ran into the command center. It was Lieutenant Jane Miller, the communications officer. She was breathing hard. General, the Zarathi just sent a message to all human worlds. They're demanding our surrender. They say they'll destroy Earth if we don't give up in 20 hours. Carl laughed. It was a cold sound. 20 hours? Perfect. That's enough time to get everything in position. Send a reply. What should I say, sir? Tell them we're thinking about it. Ask for more time to evacuate our civilians. Make them think we're scared. Jane looked confused, but did as ordered. Carl turned to his staff. They think we're weak because we've been peaceful for so long. They forgot that humans are the only species that ever fought wars against themselves and survived. They forgot that we dropped nuclear bombs on our own cities and rebuilt them. They forgot that we're the species that turns our greatest failures into our greatest strengths. He pointed at the tactical display. Look at their formation. They're grouping their ships together, making a big show of force. They want to scare us, but all they've done is make themselves a bigger target. Dr. Kevin Price pulled up new data. General, I should mention the virus. Ah, yes. Your computer virus. Will it work? Kevin grinned. It's already working. I released it 6 months ago through our trade networks. It's in every Zarathi ship sleeping, waiting for our signal. When we activate it, their shields will drop for exactly 10 seconds. That's our window. 10 seconds is enough, Carl said. What about the space mines? Colonel Beth Harper answered. 20 million mines deployed along the main hyperspace routes. They're cloaked, undetectable. When the enemy fleet tries to jump to Earth, they'll have a nasty surprise. Carl walked to the window that showed the underground factories. Assembly lines stretched as far as the eye could see. Robots built weapons day and night. They had been doing this for 100 years, all in secret. My grandfather started this, Carl said quietly. After Earth's last war, he knew we would face enemies from the stars one day. He convinced the world leaders to prepare in secret. Every human colony we built had hidden bunkers. Every trade ship had secret weapons. Every peace treaty was really intelligence gathering. He turned back to his staff. For 3,000 years we smiled and traded and made friends. But we never forgot who we are. We're humans. We're survivors. We're the species that crawled out of caves and built cities. We're the species that learned to fly, then learned to travel between stars. An alarm sounded. The main screen showed new information. Sir, Jane Miller reported, our spy satellites show the enemy fleet is starting to move. They're heading for the jump point to Earth. Carl smiled again. Good. Start Operation Blackout. Across human space, hidden satellites came online. They released a special kind of energy that would jam enemy communications. The Zarathi and their allies would not be able to talk to each other once the battle started. And General, Beth added, looking at her tablet. The other human colonies are reporting in. Everyone is ready. The children are in the bunkers. The civilian ships have evacuated to safe zones. All military assets are in position. Carl felt proud. Every human had played their part perfectly. Even the children knew what to do. This was not just a military operation. It was the entire human species working as one. Sir, should we warn the friendly alien species? Someone asked. The Aquarians and the Etherians have always been kind to us. Already done, Carl replied. I sent them secret messages yesterday. They're moving their ships away from the battle zones they know to stay neutral. He looked at the countdown clock. 18 hours until the Zarathi deadline. 18 hours until humanity showed its true face. Everyone to your stations, Carly commanded. The greatest war in galactic history is about to begin, and we're going to win it. Not because we're angry or want revenge, but because we're humans, and humans always find a way to win. The command center became busy with activity. Officers checked weapon systems. Scientists ran final tests. Soldiers prepared for battle. In the deepest part of the base, in a room known only to Carl and 3 others, the ultimate weapon waited. It was something so terrible that Carl hoped he would never have to use it. But if Earth itself was threatened, if humanity faced extinction, he would not hesitate. The weapon had a simple name, the reset button. It could destroy every hyperspace lane in the galaxy, trapping all species in their home systems for 1,000 years. Humanity would survive because they had prepared. The others would not be so lucky. Carl touched the key around his neck. He was one of 4 people who could activate the reset button. It would take all 4 keys to work. This was humanity's final insurance policy. We'll win this war, Carl said to himself. But if we can't, we'll make sure nobody wins.